As a bit of background on LiveHire, we're a 5-year-old talent technology company. We've recently listed on the ASX in June, so we've just released our second quarterly report, which has been exponential growth for the last 2 quarters, but we've actually been growing exponentially for the 6 quarters prior to that, when the enterprise product that we released really started to hit product market fit and traction. We're a 5-year-old technology company, so we've been developing the talent community solution for 5 years now, and clearly are the market leaders and first movers globally in this way that companies connect to talent. In Australia, we serve clients including KPMG, Bupa, Alfred Health, General Pants Co, and Telstra Health, and a suite of much smaller clients and large clients right across every industry and professional industry and body in Australia. And we're expanding overseas now as we really push for global scale. What we do, I guess, that's different from anybody else is we are the world's first ecosystem that can really supply talent into a business like Liquid in a much more enjoyable, simple and fast way. A lot of talent technology to date really has been focused on how do you source more talent into a business. So how do you create a job board which provides more talent? How do you create a referral app which provides more talent? Or how do you create a large network like LinkedIn which allows people to kind of access and reach out to talent? But the problem in the industry is not really access to talent. There's 3.5 billion people on the internet, and with the right Google search you can really find anyone you need. The problem in the human capital or talent space is processing the right people through to hire in as timely fashion as possible and getting the right people into your business. And this is the issue globally with human capital, and it has not been disrupted, or there is no real solution which has come to the forefront and really disrupted this industry. And you can see typically by the amount of money spent globally in human capital, so that is filling vacancies and hiring people into a business. In the US, for example, they spend $400 billion a year on hiring. 4 billion of that is on technology. So 1% of the total spend on hiring comes from technology currently. And in any mature market, take logistics or travel, etc., it's more around a 20% spend on technology, and that shows that industries have truly been disrupted. The human capital space is nowhere near that, which really speaks that it hasn't been disrupted, but that also there's an incredible amount of growth. And because of that, there's an incredible amount of companies which are trying to solve the problem, but they're really going about it, we believe, not in the right way. They're not really building ecosystems. They're just trying to work out how they can aggregate more talent that companies can tap into. And it's these ecosystems which are truly disrupting industries. And whilst we're not the Airbnb or the Uber for talent, and I don't think anyone ever will be, because that's not how the human capital space works. When you look at these technologies like Uber and Airbnb, they are ecosystems. So they are technologies or platforms where humans connect to each other to do a transaction. They're not connecting to a machine. So the analogy with Airbnb is compared to a bookings.com, where you're just booking a hotel with a computer, whereas Airbnb, you're talking to Jenny on the other side of the world. They bring humans closer together. The same analogy with Uber. I don't know the name of any taxi driver that's ever picked me up because I'm engaging with a taxi app, but with Uber, I literally make a new best friend every time I hop into a car. These ecosystems are bringing humans closer together, and they're incredibly disruptive. You just need to look at, for example, Uber, $60 billion. Their average annual revenue per user is about $1,200. They only have 9% market share in terms of moving people in the passenger industry. When you look at Airbnb, $30 billion valuation, their average annual revenue per user is about $240. They've only got 5% market share. So when these ecosystems really hit an industry and disrupt them, the growth potential of them are enormous. And they grow exponentially. And this is the key to look at any HR technology, is what is the quarter-on-quarter exponential growth in the usage, the user base and the adoption of the platform, and are they truly connecting humans millions of times over in a much faster and seamless way. And this is what you really need to look for in whether a HR technology is truly disrupting an industry, and this is what LiveHire is building.
And so on that, can you give a bit of an overview exactly what is LiveHire's main product?
Yeah, so LiveHire's main product is called the Talent Ecosystem, which comprises of talent communities that brands own. And a talent community is kind of like a reserve army of people that have LiveHire profiles, and they choose to opt in and be part of this talent community. And this is a closed network. So if I'm a worker with a LiveHire profile and I join a talent community, I can't see everybody else in that community. All I'm saying is I want to engage with the hiring managers of that company by registering my interest with that company, and they have a direct communication to my mobile phone. So I'm saying I'm qualified to work for that business through my profile. I'm saying I'm interested in that brand by joining their community. And then what LiveHire does, which is globally unique, is with the same profile, that person can privately join lots of communities of different brands. And so it sets up this shared economy for talent, but in a way that's private for everybody. And because LiveHire manages all the communication between talent and hiring managers across every single talent community of every single brand privately, LiveHire understands based on the engagement who is most available for work. And so by managing this whole global ecosystem of talent, LiveHire can predict who's most available at any point in time and serve those people up to companies so that they can hire talent on demand. And this is the biggest problem in industry, in human capital. It's not access to talent, it's the time to hire. So in the last 5 years, as an example, the time to hire in Australia has more than doubled from 28 days to 68 days on average. So that's 68 days that there's a vacant seat in a business that needs to be filled. And if you think about the average worker generates about $200,000 worth of productivity for a business, when they're not in that business for 20% of the year, that's basically $40,000 of lost productivity for that business, or 20% extra revenue. And so this is a huge problem for CEOs in how do you eliminate that time to hire and actually have your business cranking over 20% more revenue and more productivity compounding every year. And this is why people are trying to solve this problem. Now, time to hire has been blowing out over the years because the technology that is serving the human capital space is not disrupting the market. So you've got job boards and you've got professional networks. Job boards, essentially you advertise to say I'd like to buy a person and bring them into my business. And if you think of any other industry, there isn't any where you have to advertise to buy something. So you wouldn't advertise to say, I want to buy a car, who wants to sell a car to me? And if you did, you'd have 100 people apply to try and sell you a car that wasn't quite what you wanted. You'd have to test drive all of them, and then you'd have to reject 99% of them. This is how employment works, and you can see there's a huge amount of inefficiency. Just in Australia alone, for a workforce of about 12 million people, there's 300 million online job applications every year. So these are 300 million job applications that recruiters are having to process, read, reject, repeat. And this is why it takes 68 days on average to hire, because recruiters continue to get flooded with more people. Similarly with professional networks like LinkedIn, as they become larger and larger, the people on there become unresponsive. They're not on there particularly to be hit up by recruiters every single day. They're on there to do networking and build their personal brands and write content and read content. And so largely they're just being spammed. And so that becomes inefficient as well the larger it gets. And so these two technologies don't really disrupt or don't really solve for the problem. And the issue globally is that it's actually crippling companies. And so when you look at the average lifespan of a Fortune 500 company, today is less than 15 years. Half a century ago, it was 75 years average lifespan. So companies are shrinking. They're being creatively destroyed all the time because they're being crippled, because they can't get the right talent, fresh ideas, diversity into their business as they need to. On the flip side, with workers, their average tenures in their jobs are shrinking and shrinking. They're being displaced by technology. The roles they've previously been doing become redundant, and they have to reinvent themselves constantly as well. But when you can't connect people to businesses fast enough, both sides of the market cripple. And this is the unstable condition that globally we're heading for. And you have in the US, for example, Obama looking at minimum basic income just as a safety net. So this is a real problem on a macro scale. But on a micro scale, it's pretty easy to see, like the whole applying for jobs process is not very enjoyable. It's like when Uber disrupted the taxi industry. On a micro scale, people moved to Uber simply because the cars were clean, they came really fast, and you didn't have to pay with cash at the end of the ride, and you got a bottle of water in the car. So on a micro scale, it's a much more enjoyable process. And so what LiveHire is doing by building talent communities, it means that people join them and they're having face-to-face, human-to-human conversations with the hiring managers and the recruitment teams within the business almost instantly, rather than going through an application process with hundreds and hundreds of people and potentially getting rejected or likely getting rejected. So both on a macro scale, the current process doesn't work, and on a micro scale, the current process is not enjoyable for either sides of the party, and that is a huge catalyst for disruption when the right technology comes along.
And just in terms of how you charge and how you make revenue, how does that work in regards to the talent community product?
Yeah, so LiveHire is a classic software as a service hosting fee, so a SaaS model. So companies pay us month by month, and they pay us based on the size of the community that they grow. They pay us 50 cents per member or profile on their community per month. And typically an organisation builds a community to about 10 times the size of their workforce. And when they do that, they have enough people in talent pools for every role in their business, such that there's always a short list of quality people that are available from that talent pool. So when they hit 10 times their workforce, that's really the optimal size of their talent community. And from that point on, the talent community it's quite dynamic. So people click out and leave the community, or they're archived out by the employer because they're not the right match, as more talent are joining. And talent will join from everywhere. So they'll click on a Google AdWords that the company might be marketing their talent community, on a Facebook post, on a LinkedIn post, on a job advert will be a link to the community, on email signatures of staff. So LiveHire really acts as the single destination for all of these sources of talent across the internet. So all 3.4 billion people on the internet, if there's a way of reaching them, you can invite them to your talent community. And this is how talent communities grow. And so you take a typical company of 10,000 employees, they grow a talent community to 100,000 people. LiveHire charges $50,000 per month, or roughly $600,000 per year. But the important piece there is what it's saving the client. And so the back of the napkin calculation is, in Australia and the US, for example, it's around $6,000 average cost to hire. That's including all the time, materials and people involved in the process. So if you're hiring 1,000 people a year, you're a 10,000 employee business, hiring 1,000 people a year, $6,000 per hire, you're spending $6 million a year on recruitment. And so what LiveHire does is, for that $600,000 technology charge, actually halves that time and cost to hire. So for the $600,000 technology fee, the company is saving direct $3 million a year in cost. And so that's the real business case, which time and time again sees all the big brands and companies launching these communities and flipping the way that they recruit from reactively recruiting, which is posting ads, processing applicants, interviewing, rejecting, repeating, 68 days, $6,000 a time, to building a community proactively where, when they need to hire, they always have people available and they're hiring on demand, much faster, much cheaper, much higher quality people.
And just in terms of how you actually sell product, what are the key channels to market, and where do you sort of see the bulk of them going in the future in serious growth and scale?
Yeah, so 5 billion people globally work. And so this is LiveHire's world. So LiveHire's purpose is to empower the flow of the world's talent, to make a more open, agile and awesome working world. And so for us, our total market is really to empower the 5 billion people and have them on the right communities that they need to under the SaaS model. So it's free for workers and we charge for companies. The way we go to market is we tend to dissect it into two. So 60% of large corporates do their own recruitment end to end. So they have their own teams inside their business, and typically they'll have one recruiter for every 50 hires that they do per year. So if you're hiring 1,000 people a year, you'd have a team of about 20 people sitting inside the business, run by a head of talent and a HR director. LiveHire's inside sales team will actually engage the head of talent and the HR director around the business case and look to implement and sell the solution into the business, and send our customer success team in there to implement the technology, help them grow the community to the right size, train and get them moving on that proactive recruitment model. And that typically takes about 2 to 3 months until they're really getting that direct return on investment from the platform. 40% of corporates don't do their own recruitment. So this is really served globally by a market called RPO, which is recruitment process outsourcing. So again, to take the analogy of a business hiring 1,000 people internally with a team of 20, a recruitment process outsourcing firm would go to that business and say, we can do the same, but with 15 people instead. And instead of it costing you $6,000 per hire, we'll charge you a flat rate of $4,000 per hire. And it's up to us to put the people and the technology and the processes in place inside your business to run it efficiently. 40% of corporates go down this path instead. And globally, the top 10 RPO firms control 90% of that market. So there really is 10 partners for LiveHire as a channel to grow over 1/3 of the total workforce globally. Now, the interesting thing about RPO is they have the same challenges and struggles as every corporate business. So once they're inside a business, events happen out of their control, and what they realise is the 15 people in the business is not quite doing the job, and they need to scale up and put some more people in there. So all of a sudden their cost base rises, and their margin they were making on that $4,000 per hire starts to shrink. And globally, RPO firms enjoy, for use of a better word, about a 3 to 5% profit margin. So it's a very tight market. And so RPOs are looking for a lot of productivity. So they're looking for technology that can drive this. And LiveHire really is at the forefront of this because it's the only company globally that is building this ecosystem of talent communities that can deliver talent on demand. So for RPO, LiveHire really is a productivity tool that they put into their client's business, and they run it as a managed service, and they're able to reduce the amount of headcount in the business to deliver the same amount of service, and hence their margins grow. So this is a really attractive and lucrative channel partner for LiveHire because you don't need your own sales team, and the value that you're delivering to the RPO is substantial, such that they're highly incentivized to push it out across their client base as fast as possible.
In terms of sort of key catalysts from a share price or just an investor perspective, what are the things to look out for over the next 3, 6, 9 months for sort of to know that we're on the right track?
Yeah, look, I think all you've got to look at is the past 8 quarters to see that the technology is on the right track. And so for 8 quarters since launching the product, the talent community connections, which is the main metric in the business, so 50 cents per connection per month, talent community connections have been growing exponentially month on month, quarter on quarter. So you can see in the chart that the trajectory that the business is on. So it's not a case of is this ecosystem going to become pervasive, it's a case of when. And because of that, it's really something that already has the traction and adoption to show that it is moving towards those 5 billion people globally, because there isn't any other technology, HR technology, that is growing at this rate and being adopted at this rate. So really the key metric to look for is continued exponential growth. But you just need to look at the last 8 quarters to see that's the trajectory it's on.
And just in terms of actually achieving that trajectory, what are the sort of key milestones in between? We report it quarterly, but is it cornerstone clients? Is it RPO wins? Is it technology integrations? Yeah,
so I mean, our main growth is through more and more big brand client wins, which we call cornerstone clients. And so typically our inside sales team will go into a region and into an industry, and we'll look to sign up the largest client within that industry. And these clients are unique in that they're sitting on incredibly large databases of past applicants to their business. And so prior to LiveHire coming on board, companies would utilise the reactive recruitment model, and they would have a static database. When people would apply for a job, they'd go into this basically bucket of candidates with a PDF CV, and over the course of 5 years that database would grow and grow, but it's never used because it's a stale database. And so these large cornerstone clients, when they launch with LiveHire, they refresh those databases by inviting them all to their new talent community, and this is how LiveHire grows really quickly within a region, and allows a lot of other companies to then tap into the ecosystem and grow their own communities. So cornerstone clients is a big indicator to look for, and LiveHire announces as it signs more and more cornerstone clients in different industries. The second one is RPO partnerships. So LiveHire has already partnered with Randstad, and they're actively looking for their second implementation now, and then starting to roll that out across their clients. So looking for continued implementations with RPO clients, and new RPO channel partners signing and coming on board is another key catalyst. And the third one really is technology partnerships. So as LiveHire becomes that ecosystem and manages the talent's profile into businesses, other technologies start to integrate into the ecosystem to provide other HR functionality and services to the client. So whether it's video interviewing, or whether it's reference checking, or whether it's calendar integrations for bulk interviews, the key signal that other technology HR vendors are plugging into the ecosystem continues to build momentum in LiveHire being effectively the central destination or the gold plate standard for talent that want to work in any industry with any brand.
And just finally, as a bit of a case study of success, particularly in the last 3 or 4 months, perhaps you can talk on General Pants going their implementation with new technologies into the LiveHire stack, and just the results from that as well.
Yeah, so General Pants are an interesting one. They're a national retailer, 50 stores around Australia, and a global e-commerce platform. Last year, leading up to Christmas every year, they need to do a large recruitment drive. Last year they looked to hire 400 people. Prior to LiveHire, this was a reactive process for them, so advertising on job boards, processing applicants, rejecting applicants, etc., etc. Last year it took them 18 weeks to hire 400 people in the lead up to Christmas using this process. In the last 4 weeks they've implemented a talent community. They refreshed a large applicant database from previous years, and also pushed out across their social platforms where they've got 300,000 followers. In about 2 weeks, they grew a talent community to 30,000 people. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, they proceeded to send out video interview requests to over 5,000 people within that talent community, of which around 2,500 people responded with short video interviews. Using that process, they were able to quickly understand not just the skill of people, but the will of people. And knowing the will of people allowed them to quickly build group interview shortlists, and then process through to hire. So they've been able to do this year's Christmas campaign, hiring 560 people, so an increase from 400 on last year in 18 weeks to this year being 560 people in 4 weeks. So around a quarter of the time to hire more people. And when I talk again about that average cost to hire being $6,000, you can start to see the incredible value that this process is delivering, not just for General Pants, but every other client tapping into this ecosystem.
Mike Hayward, co-founder of LiveHire, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Simon.